remember that the basic thing we're picturizing is just a simple hierarchical relationship. Personality at the top, a spirit domain, and then the mindal domain below that, where your consciousness is. We'll bring in more of the picture in a little bit, but just keep that basic picture in your head. You always just visualize the chart upside down to picture that. Remember that the reason this is so important is we're really focusing on those fundamental potentials that come into play for you because you have these three aspects to you. Remember that fundamental potential in the personality is perfectibility. By endowing this minded, spirited system with personality, it gives it that potential of perfectibility. The only way that can be part of you, is through the bestowal of personality. Because your mind is such that it can engage actual spirit energy character in the cosmos. That spirit energy gives you another potential, gives you progressibility. Without relationship to spirit, there can't be progressibility. Because you're minded, that gives you adaptability. So we have those three basic: adaptability, progressibility, and perfectibility. And the whole point of what they're trying to present here is how that plays out as the perfectibility potential actualizes in the spirit energy. Remember, personality is spirit pattern, so it applies itself to that spirit energy, imposes a pattern upon it, and that potential gets actualized as an actual perfecting character of that spirit energy system. It's through that, the actualization of that potential, it can become more and more perfect. And that's through your relationship to that, you can become more and more perfect. So perfecting can occur in that spirit energy because that perfectibility is actualizing in it. And perfecting, the term for that is growth. So you have to know. You can't understand anything in these opening sections if you don't know the technical meaning of the word growth. That's what it is. It's not anything else that you can imagine about this whole complicated energy system. It's the perfectingness in that spirit energy. That's growth. When that progressibility that's in the spirit energy actualizes, mind can rule, or spirit can rule the mind. So when that progressibility actualizes in the mindal energy below it, can make that mindal phenomenon a progressing phenomenon. So you can have progression and growth. And so those are the initial basics. When we get to the third section, we'll expand the rest of the picture because they actually take it the rest of the way there. But see, initially, when these first two sections, we were talking about religious growth and spiritual growth. We're really initially focusing on that spirit domain, your relationship to actual spirit energy, and if there is a growth character to that spiritual energy, not only does it just in and of itself, have spiritual growth, the spiritual character is growing. The magnitude of it, is growing. But your spirit, your personality is spirit pattern, and if that's imposing itself on that spirit energy, the more spirit energy, the higher the character of the spiritual energy, the more the personality can actualize. And remember, religion is personal spiritual experience, not just spiritual experience. So it's one thing to have growth and perhaps experience with that spirit just as spirit, from the bottom up. But that personality engaging that growing spiritual phenomenon creates a growing personal phenomenon. So you can have religious growth as well. Okay, so that's the basic contrast between these two sections. Now, the two, talking about religious growth and spiritual growth, are interleaved in the two sections, but they're really challenging you just, with the section titles, to go, well, what's the difference there? What does that mean? So, so it's very important to have that right up front, to get this basic understanding of what we're talking about.
Sorry.
Just notice that other one little thing that comes in play, and you have to understand that. As soon as you know the foundational points of what we were just talking about, the growth is, begins in the spirit domain. Now, of course, the mindal domain is engaged to that spiritual energy. The mindal energy is engaged to that spiritual energy. So, if the spirit energy is growing in character, the mind that's linked to it will grow also. So, as a consequence, this anything that's above can feed down, and so that's why they say. While religion produces growth of meanings, see, how are meanings growing? They're not growing fundamentally in and of themselves. Meanings, is in the mindal block. You can have in and of themselves; they can just progress. But in relationship to growing values, meanings grow because meanings are the relationship between things and values. Okay? So, see. It'd be confusing if you didn't know the first principles, because then you're going to mix up which is the cart and which is the horse, and it's going to get confusing. So you've got to know where these phenomena initiate, and then you can contemplate, what consequences those have down the chain, especially. Okay, so that's the basic picture, and then we're going to just, as we read into it, see how that plays out.